AFRODEITIES, Seed from Band 4. Pillar page narration, 11 Labs. Seed is not ending. Seed is return. A seed is smaller than the plant it becomes, lighter than the harvest it produces, more patient than the season it waits through. This is not metaphor. This is engineering. Core concept. Seed holds genetic instruction, nutritional reserve, and dormancy mechanism in a form designed to survive conditions that would kill the parent plant. It can wait years, decades, sometimes centuries, for the right conditions to germinate. It can cross oceans in the hold of a ship, the hair of an enslaved woman, the stomach of a bird. It can endure drought, flood, fire, and frost. It remembers what the soil was and anticipates what the soil could become. In agricultural terms, seed ensures survival beyond famine, displacement, or ecological collapse. It is the stored answer to questions not yet asked. It is insurance against rupture. In civilizational terms, seed operates the same way. Knowledge compressed into portable, durable form. Transmitted not as complete system, but as potential, waiting for conditions that allow it to germinate, root, and multiply again. African civilizations understood this. They did not only preserve knowledge, they stored futurity. Agricultural practice. African agricultural systems were seed-centered, not land-centered. This is a critical distinction. European agriculture prioritized land ownership, enclosure, and fixed cultivation. African systems prioritized seed sovereignty, mobility, and adaptive planting. Land could be lost, seized, or exhausted. But seed traveled. Seed adapted. Seed returned. Farmers maintained multiple seed varieties, not one best cultivar, but dozens of land races adapted to different soils, rainfall patterns, and ritual purposes. Drought-resistant sorghum for lean years. Fast-maturing millet for short-growing seasons. Deep-rooted yams for uncertain rains. High-yield rice for floodplains. Each variety held different insurance against different futures. Seed storage was ritual and practical simultaneously. Seeds were kept in gourds, clay vessels, woven baskets, and underground caches. They were blessed, named, and passed down matrilineally in many societies. Women as seed custodians, guardians of genetic continuity. When a family migrated, they carried seed. When a village split, each faction took seed from the mother stock. When war displaced populations, seed went into hair, into hems, into memory. The crop could be burned, but if seed survived, the system could regenerate. This was not accident. This was design. Diaspora transmission. When African people were forced to cross the Atlantic, they carried seed. Not in luggage, there was none. Not in pockets. Clothes were often stripped, but in hair, braided tight with grains of rice. In mouths, holding okra seeds under the tongue. In stomachs, swallowing what could be retrieved later. In memory, holding the knowledge of what to plant, when to plant, and how. Judith Carney's research documents how enslaved West Africans brought rice cultivation knowledge and actual seeds to South Carolina's Low Country. The plantations that made fortunes from rice did so because enslaved experts knew how to engineer tidal irrigation, how to hull rice without breaking grain, how to time planting to seasonal floods. The crop was African. The knowledge was African. The labor was African. The profit was not. Okra appears in the Americas because it was carried. Black-eyed peas, watermelon, sesame, cola, sorghum, diaspora crops that survived Middle Passage because seed is survival technology. These were not ornamental. They were nutritional, medicinal, and mnemonic. To plant okra was to remember home. To grow sorghum was to maintain connection. To harvest black-eyed peas was to continue. Seed was the civilizational technology that could not be confiscated. You can seize land, ban languages, destroy archives, kill memory holders. But if seed survives, hidden, carried, planted, the knowledge system can regenerate, not identically, but functionally. Juridical concept. Seed was not only agricultural, it was juridical. In many African societies, seed represented inheritance, legitimacy, and continuity. Royal lineages were seed lines. Succession disputes were framed as questions of whose seed was legitimate. Among the Yoruba, the term meaning seed also means lineage and foundation. To be of good seed is to come from honorable ancestry. Among the Akan, seed storage was matrilineal, passing through women because women controlled agricultural production and reproductive continuity simultaneously. The logic was explicit. Women carry human seed, children, and botanical seed, crops. Both are futurity. Seed could be given as dowry, tribute, or treaty payment. To give seed was to share future wealth, to extend trust, to recognize alliance. To refuse seed was to deny relationship. Seed transactions were not commerce. They were covenant. Recursive logic. Seed closes the bridgeworks by returning to fable. Fable is instruction encoded in story. Seed is future encoded in matter. When seed is planted, it becomes the story again. The harvest becomes the tale told to the next generation. What was stored becomes instruction. What was silent becomes speech. This recursion is not repetition. It is regeneration under new conditions. African fables often center on seed, planting, and harvest, not as agricultural advice, but as civilizational instruction. The story of the farmer who hoarded seed and starved is a lesson in reciprocity and risk distribution. The tale of the woman who saved the forbidden grain and saved her people is a lesson in disobedience as survival. These are not metaphors. They are memory encoded for transmission. The stories travel as seed travels, portable, durable, adaptive. They wait for the conditions that make them legible again. When the bridgeworks completes its circle, seed returns to fable. Knowledge re-enters the system not as relic, but as future instruction. The next generation does not receive the archive. They receive the seed and the responsibility to plant it. Time logic. Seed operates in non-linear time. It holds the past, genetic memory of what the plant was. It exists in the present, dormant, waiting. It anticipates the future, conditions for germination not yet arrived. African time systems recognized this. Seed planting followed calendars, yes, but also divination, dream, and environmental reading. You planted when the signs were right, not when the date arrived. This was not superstition. It was empirical observation encoded in ritual form, watching soil temperature, moisture, insect activity, stellar positions, and social conditions simultaneously. Time governed seed. Seed governed harvest. Harvest governed survival. The relationship was circular, recursive, and adaptive. This is how African agriculture survived climate variability for millennia. Not by controlling environment, but by adapting to it, using seed as the technology that allowed adaptation without catastrophic loss. Seed is how you plan for what you cannot foresee.
Contemporary crisis. Seed is under attack globally. Corporate consolidation means 10 companies control over 2/3 of global seed sales. Patents and intellectual property law make it illegal to save, replant, or share seeds without permission. Hybrid and GMO seeds are designed not to reproduce, forcing farmers into perpetual dependency. This is not agriculture. This is extraction, posing as innovation. Africa is both victim and battleground. International seed companies promote commercial hybrids and GMOs as solutions to food insecurity, while criminalizing the traditional seed-saving practices that sustained African populations for millennia. Meanwhile, climate change accelerates unpredictably. Temperature patterns shift. Rainfall becomes erratic. Traditional planting calendars lose reliability. This is why seed sovereignty is survival work. Indigenous seed varieties, adapted to local conditions, maintained through continuous replanting and selection, offer genetic diversity that commercial varieties cannot match. They are not heirloom curiosities. They are insurance against futures we cannot predict. African farmers, seed savers, and food sovereignty movements resist seed colonization precisely because they understand what the Bridgeworks teaches. If you lose seed, you lose future. Seed is not commodity. Seed is continuity. Closing. When everything else fails, when the griot is killed, when script is burned, when memorabilia is looted, when soil is stripped, seed can still regenerate the system. Not perfectly, not identically, but functionally. Because seed holds instruction in compressed form. It anticipates rupture. It prepares for futures that do not yet exist. It waits, dormant, until conditions allow it to germinate again. This is why seed closes the Bridgeworks. Because civilization does not end when knowledge is destroyed. It ends when the capacity to regenerate knowledge is lost. As long as seed survives, the circle can begin again. Outro, standard AFRODEITIES closing.
This is Seed, one of 12 Bridgeworks codices within the AFRODEITIES canon. Devejopt nai chinenye egbuna iquemesi. The Bridgeworks are fable, griot, score, spell, script, sigil, memorabilia, soil, numbers, time, technologica, and seed.
Each codex is a bridge, connecting myth to system, past to future, rupture to continuity. Together, they demonstrate the power and sophistication of African civilizational architecture, how knowledge was archived, transmitted, and preserved across time and rupture. AFRODEITIES exists to prove that African memory systems were not primitive. They were engineered for survival, and they worked.